I got an email from X's legal department, saying that they had to geo-block the video at the request of the safety commissioner. So geo-block means no one in Australia could see it. The judge ruled pretty clearly that what had happened was unlawful, and she didn't like that very much, hence why we then went to federal court.
Regular viewers of the Topher Project will not be surprised to learn that I'm not a fan of the Karen, the E-Safety Commissioner, Julie Inman-Grant. I'm delighted to be able to bring you interviews with the likes of John Ruddock, MP, who is leading the charge with a High Court challenge against her under-16s social media ban. And today I'm delighted to bring you Celine, also known as Celine V Machine, who is bringing her own challenge against the E-Safety Commissioner. And honestly, well, I'm going to get Celine to tell us all about it herself, but it seems almost beyond farce. Celine, welcome to the Topher Project.
Hi, Topher. Thank you very much for having me.
It's quite an extraordinary thing. I've been following you for a little while on X. I highly recommend that people look up Celine Against the Machine on X and give you a follow. It's well worth it. The stories that I'm seeing, the tweets that I'm reading from various accounts about the proceedings are extraordinary. But before we get there, there will be people that have never heard of you. They're not aware of the fight that you're fighting or of what's led up to these extraordinary courtroom scenes that we've had in the last week or so. So can you just bring us up to speed? Who are you? What happened? And how did you end up in a situation where pretty much the whole of Australia is now watching you and keeping an eye on what's happening between you and the E-Safety Commissioner?
Yeah, so my name's Celine Baumgarten. As you said, my online name is Celine Against the Machine. It's not that Rage Against the Machine is my favourite band or anything. It's just my name rhymes with machine, so I thought, it'd be a good rhyming name. Most of my life, I've never really been on social media. Excuse my bub, I've got my 9-month-old baby next to me.
No, look, that is completely fine. I've got 3 kids of my own, and if it weren't for a soundproof studio, you'd hear them as well.
Yeah. So I started, I guess, my online activism, whatever you want to call it, roughly about a year and a half ago. I joined a wonderful organization called Gays Against Groomers. They're a US-based organization, but they're an organization full of lesbians, gays, bisexual people who are against the, I guess, what you can call the alphabet rainbow madness that is going on at the moment. We are heavily against the indoctrination, sterilization, and mutilation of children in the name of gender ideology.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt this interview with Celine. We'll get back to her in just a moment in time. But my name's Topher Field. This is the Topher Project. And I bring you stories like this one to help busy people like you cut through the crap and stay up to date with the world as it changes around you. And important stories like people fighting back against the government are the kinds of stories that I like the most. Now, if you appreciate what I'm doing here at the Topher Project, then you can help me to keep doing it by buying me a coffee via the button that you'll find at topherfield.com. And while you're there, you're also going to find my full range of merch, including my 2 best-selling books. There's a DVD, there's a whole bunch of t-shirts, hoodies, and nowadays there's caps and stickers as well. Do have a look around at the website topherfield.com while you're there. And now, without further ado, let's get back to Celine.
A huge part of what we do is pretty much shining a light on what's going on in schools. So one afternoon, I was scrolling through my Instagram messages and I got a tip from a mum whose young child was at this primary school in Melbourne, and the school was running a queer club for students in years 3 to 6. So we're talking about 8 to 12 years old.
You said primary school, a queer club in a primary school.
Primary school. So
wow.
Yeah, most normal people like yourself and myself, we don't really see children as sexual beings. Therefore, a sexuality club based in a primary school, red flags. So I decided to look into it myself. I went on the school's website. I went on the school's newsletter, which was completely public for anyone to see. And lo and behold, there it was, the queer club, with a photo of the teacher that was facilitating it. So I pulled I guess you can call it a libs of TikTok, screenshotted all of the content, made a little video on myself just pointing out the fact that this is going on. I don't agree with it. I don't think there's any place for it. And in collaboration with Gays Against Groomers, we shared that video to Instagram and to X.
Sure.
Less than a week after posting that video, I got an email from X's legal department, saying that they had to geo-block the video at the request of the safety commissioner. So geo-block means no one in Australia could see it.
Sure.
And I was a little bit taken back by that because I'd heard of, other, I guess, like gender activists, Billboard Chris, for example, going through similar kind of things with e-safety. Never thought it was going to happen to me. But when I saw that, I immediately was like, well, I have to fight this because I'm very, very passionate about parents knowing what's going on in these schools and just free speech in general. I didn't incite any violence. Nothing I did or said was illegal. It was all public information. So I reached out to Billboard Chris and I'm like, hey, this is happening to me too now. What did you do? Any resources that could help me? And he pointed me into the direction of the Free Speech Union. And they've been with me since day one. Ruben is absolutely amazing. Dr. Ruben Kirkham, couldn't credit him anymore. So with their help, we took it to the Administrative Appeals Tribunal, and that was step one of a very, very long process. I found out I was pregnant about 2 weeks before I got the removal notice, and my daughter's now 9 months old. So it's been going on a fair while.
And the final decision is still probably a few months away. We'll get to that in a moment. Firstly, yes, full credit to the Free Speech Union. Dr. Ruben Kirkham has been on this show, I think, 3 times so far, as we've talked about different aspects of his work and what he does. I'm interested in this moment, though, where you made it sound like it was automatic. It wasn't even really a choice for you, that you were going to fight this. For a lot of people, that is a struggle. That is something that they would look at the size of the opponent, they would look at the potential costs and pitfalls and would potentially think twice. And sadly, we know that there are a lot of people who just choose to look the other way and to not fight back. What was it about you or about this issue or that moment in time? Can you pinpoint anything that really made the difference for you to just be saying, no, I've got to fight this?
I think it was a combination of things. If I'm honest, I've always been cautious of authority, I guess is the way you could put it. I've always grown up questioning official narratives and, government just in general, things like that. And I have a huge problem with bureaucracy. Leading up to that, not very long before that was the whole Billboard Chris scenario.
Sure.
And Billboard Chris being the Canadian activist that wears the billboard, if you guys know who we're talking about, wears the children cannot consent to puberty blockers billboard. So after looking at that case, knowing the ties that the e-safety office has to ACON, when I got that email, it was just like a knee-jerk reaction. I'm like, I'm not just going to take this laying down. I'm going to fight this as much as I can because, as I said before, most parents or most people, if you don't have a child in school these days, you have no idea what's going on. Like the curriculums are just so far out these days. And it's only been about 10 or so years since I was in high school. It's radically changed now. And most people have no idea.
Well, radical certainly being the operative word there. Well, look, I tip my hat to you and I applaud you. I've been saying for a very long time, if you need to attend to your child, feel free to. Please don't be shy. But I've been saying for a very long time that lawfare is a very necessary part of the fight back. We have to fight fire with fire. They've wrapped us in all these rules and regulations and restrictions. They've put all these conditions on our freedoms, and we can use those. Sometimes we get to use those back against them, and I think we have an obligation to do so when that opportunity arises, and I would say that that's exactly what you're doing. So you went to the tribunal. Now, there's a bit of a technical aspect here, but I think it's important that we talk about this technical aspect. The E-Commissioner tried to weasel out of being subject to the authority of the tribunal, and correct me if I'm wrong about this is just my understanding, by claiming that they hadn't really made a decision about taking down your content. They just suggested that X should do it, and X chose to do it of their own free will, something along that line. Can you bring me up to speed on all of that?
Yeah. So, you're pretty much correct. It was one big giant blame game. So they use what are called informal notices, and what these notices are, how did I explain it on Sky News? They're takedown notices, but they're dressed up as informal notices. And in this particular case with X, they submitted this informal notice through their legal request portal. So to X, it seems like it's very scary. You must take this down now as it doesn't comply with our laws. And the law being the Online Safety Act, which is word salad in and of itself. But that's pretty much how they circumvent any actual responsibility and blame when it comes to this. So, our trip to the tribunal was pretty much a whole bunch of that. And then we had to get referred to the Guidance and Appeals panel to see if the tribunal had jurisdiction to even make the decision. It was a wild ride of back and forth between us, like Free Speech Union and the E-Safety Office. But when we got there and we were heard, the judge ruled pretty clearly that what had happened was unlawful. And she didn't like that very much, hence why we then went to federal court.
Now, it's an extraordinary thing to... Yes. So just to be clear, for anyone that didn't quite catch that, the E-Safety Commissioner and the E-Safety Office lost at the tribunal. They were found to have not operated correctly by trying to have this informal decision, but not a decision. And then they are such sore losers, I'm going to put it in those terms, that they felt the need to try and take you, Celine, the young mum, to the federal court to fight for their right to take down your video, or to not even take down your video, just to suggest to X that they ought to maybe think about maybe maybe not. We're not going to make a decision, take down your video. It's nonsense. And they're spending taxpayers' money to do this. Tell me a little bit about the financial side of it for you, because this is a terrifying thing for most people to find themselves being sued by the federal government. How have you handled that from a financial point of view? Have you had help? Have you had a crowdfunder? And how has that gone up to this point?
Yeah, so I've had help. I'm not going to lie to the people and try and siphon money just for the sake of it. No, I've had help. For Ruben and the Free Speech Union helped me the first time round. So their stuff was all pro bono because they get donations to the Free Speech Union. That's how they were able to pay.
Right. Okay.
We do know that through Freedom of Information requests, the East Safety Commissioner spent upwards of, like, I think it's $200,000 the first time round just on her own solicitors and lawyers and things like that, which is all, as you said, taxpayer funded. Ridiculous.
Extraordinary.
This time round, because she was the one bringing the case to me, I was offered pro bono assistance. So that's how it worked this time round. I was going to go through the Free Speech Union again. Unfortunately, we had some things come up with the lawyer that we wanted to bring on board. So that didn't work out, and the timeline, like the date was getting closer to when I had to make a decision. So I went with the pro bono lawyers, but I'm very glad that I did because they were amazing. They were really, really good. They listened to Ruben and myself and what we wanted to really get out there, and they followed our instructions to the T, and they went really well on the day. Very proud. Yeah.
Well, that doesn't always happen, so I'm very, very pleased that that's worked out for you. So that brings us up to the most recent hearing. You had your day in court, so to speak, and people don't necessarily know what goes on inside courtrooms. There's probably no need to go too deep into the minutiae, but what matters is, did the e-safety office and their lawyers, were they able to put forward a strong case? What's your sense coming out of that particular day? Do you think they're going to win in this federal appeal, or do you think that you're going to prevail yet again against the e-safety office?
Yeah, look, I'm quietly confident. Hey, I'm quietly confident. We expected a bit of a car crash, but it went quite bad for them, I'll say, especially in the afternoon. Because I mean, part of me felt sorry for them because they were given an impossible task. Like they had lost pretty fair and square. So for them to try and argue and twist the argument, it was a tall order. And I think they came up a little bit short. The Free Speech Union has uploaded one small snippet from the transcript, but I think it sums it up pretty well, where the Chief Justice said to eSafety's solicitor that this is very unsatisfactory from a Commonwealth agency. It's just their behaviour was just not on. Their arguments were not making any sense whatsoever. I mean, obviously with these things, it could go either way. It could definitely go either way. I'm not, counting all my chickens before they hatch, but based on the feeling of the day and just the overall experience with everything, I'm quietly confident that we'll win again. What will come of that? Who knows? Probably nothing, but at least it'll be another win for the little guy.
Yeah. Well, there's some very interesting moving parts going on here. I take a step back. Obviously, for you, this court case is looming very large in your life, and that's rightly so. For me, I take a bit of a step back and I say, well, there's a High Court challenge coming thanks to John Ruddock MP and people working with him to actually challenge the constitutionality of the under-16 social media ban. There's people like yourself taking the eSafety office to task, and the eSafety office has a very poor track record in anything that actually goes to the tribunal or to a courtroom. They have a very high loss rate in that context, and I'm fully expecting an enormous avalanche of lawsuits to come from American tech companies soon after the under-16s ban comes in, because it is my expectation, as I've said before in my videos, that the eSafety office will tell those companies that they have not taken reasonable steps to verify everyone's age, and they will insist that they have, and that will end up in court. And for her part, Julianne Grant, the eSafety Commissioner, is planning on leaving the role next year, and I have to wonder if she can perhaps see the dumpster fire that is brewing. Well, Celine, how can people who want to follow this story further get in touch with you or follow you and stay up to date as this develops?
You can follow me on Instagram or on X. My handle's the same. It's at Celine V Machine _. So Celine against the machine. And stay up to
Fantastic. Date. Celine, more power to you, and I tip my hat also to the Free Speech Union. They've been fantastic in so many ways, and I'm so glad that you're able to get them on board, and I wish you all the very best, and we'll look forward to staying up to date with this story as it develops.
Thanks, Topher. Thanks, mate.
Well, thank you so much to Celine for joining me for that interview, and thank you to you for watching it all the way through. My name's Topher Field. This is the Topher Project. You can help me to keep bringing you stories like this one so that I can keep you up to date with how this particular case goes, but also lots of other things that are going on in the world around us. And you can support me by heading over to topherfield.com, buying me a coffee via the button that you'll find there, but also checking out my books, my DVDs, and all of my merch. And everything you buy is going to help me to keep bringing you stories just like this one. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. The algorithm loves you, and so do I. Please like, comment, subscribe, check out this video of mine while you're here because YouTube thinks you'll like that one. And as always, think free.